And call the meeting to order as we, City Attorney should be on his way. We'll go ahead and first rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is an open meeting of the Seward, Nebraska governing body. The City of Seward abides by the Nebraska Open Meetings Act in conducting business. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is displayed on the north wall of this meeting room facility as required. Disclosure of meeting recording processes is posted in the meeting room. A participant sign-in sheet is available for use by any citizen by addressing the council. Presenters shall approach the podium, state their name and address for the clerk's record, and are asked to limit remarks to 5 minutes. All remarks shall be directed to the mayor, who shall determine by whom any appropriate response shall be made. The City of Seward reserves the right to adjust the order of items on this agenda if necessary, and may elect to take action on any of the items listed. Please call the roll.
Leeske.
Here.
Beck.
Here.
Camper.
Here.
Fritz.
Here.
Height.
Here.
Singleton. Schmidt.
Here.
Hens.
Here.
Item number 1, consideration of approval of draft minutes of April 7th, 2015.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Hens. Schmidt. Height. Fritz. Camper. Beck. Leeske. Motion carried.
Item number 3, 2, consideration of consent agenda.
Move approval?
Second.
The motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Yes.
Yeah, there is a reimbursement to my employer for $140 for training that some city employees attended, so I'll abstain from voting on the motion.
All right, thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Hens. Schmidt. Height. Fritz. Camper. Beck. Leeske abstains. Motion carried.
Now to number 3. This is a public hearing. This is consideration of 2015 Nebraska Affordable Housing Program in AHP, down payment assistance funding. I believe Jen is here to present. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, I am just here to answer any questions if you have any. The City of Seward is entering into an application in partnership with the Seward County Housing Corporation to implement another county-wide down payment assistance. It's a home buyer opportunity program. It's down payment assistance with minor rehabilitation on some of the units that we'll provide assistance for. We're asking for $343,140 in trust funds, and 210 of those will go towards down payment assistance. $63,000 of it will be towards rehabilitation of minor items that might need to occur with the units being purchased, and then $48,000 for rehab management. That'd be construction management of the contractors, the inspections, and all of that work that goes into the underwriting of the down payment assistance work, and then $21,000 for grant administration. In the current 2012 program, we targeted 14 units. With Seward County Housing Corporation, we actually were able to assist 17 families with home ownership, and we have leveraged over $1 million in first mortgages for the county, many of those here in the City of Seward. And I'd be happy to answer any of your questions about the program or the program guidelines if you have any at this time.
Are there any questions or comments from the council? Otherwise, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing portion of this. If anyone from the public wishes to comment on this item, you may approach the podium. Seeing no one from the public, then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of item number 3. If there are any other questions or comments from the council? Otherwise, under item A, I would need someone to introduce the resolution.
I'll introduce it.
All right. The resolution has been introduced and is designated as resolution number 2015-08. Would anyone like to move that this resolution be passed and adopted?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor of the motion, Lacy, Beck, Campbell, Fritz, Pike, Schmidt, Hans, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That wasn't too bad, was it?
No, that was the fastest city council meeting yet.
Alright. Item number 4, this is also a public hearing. Consideration of final plat for Web 4th edition, and John Hughes is here, and we have, for this one, we have an item A, which is consideration of an ordinance approving the final plat of Web 4th edition, and then, item 5, which we will get to next, would be the annexation. So John, do you have anything to add?
Basically, this is the 26th parcel plat that came to you with in a preliminary platform a couple weeks ago. We did have a planning commission meeting. They approved the plat with one no vote, the rest all yes votes. I believe we've been able to separate the two issues that are involved, one being excessive water drainage from schools onto the streets, and the other one being the actual final plat itself. We're making progress on fixing the problems with the school, but the final plat is before you. And again, I believe the last time we talked, but just to reiterate a little bit, undeveloped land at this point in time is using a base flow rate of about 1 and 3 cubic feet per second. By doing the improvements that we requested for the web edition, we've slowed that down to 77 cubic feet per second. So we're actually, with the implementation of this plat, we're actually reducing the water. Not the amount of water that hits it, but at a slower rate of time so that other water has time to get away, actually improving the conditions. Any questions?
Any questions from the council? Otherwise, yes, go ahead, Alan.
John, I read in there negotiating with property owners to extend Star Street. Is that property owner the school district?
Pardon?
In the extension of Star Street?
It will just go to the first street there, which is Briarwood,
But not beyond?
not beyond.
'Cause
And there's gonna be a turnaround at the end of Knotty Pine. They wanted to purchase the whole property from the school. The school didn't want to sell it. They wanted to save that parcel.
Because it says a developer is in negotiations with adjacent property owners to acquire additional land to extend Star Street to connect to Briarwood, so that's,
That would be the piece, and we wanted another way out of there, and so if the plat gets approved, all the papers are drawn up for them to sign and buy that portion of the property from the school to put that street in.
what kind of turnaround, cul-de-sac or just
It's just a gravel turnaround up there,
but sufficient for emergency vehicles to?
absolutely 60 feet.
Thanks, Alan. We're going to open up the public hearing portion of this. Does anyone from the public wish to comment on item 4A? If you are, you're welcome to come to the podium. Okay, seeing no one, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of item 4A. Is there any other questions or comments from the council? Otherwise, I need someone to introduce the ordinance.
I'll introduce it.
Okay. An ordinance to approve the plat entitled Web 4th Edition to the City of Seward County, Nebraska, as hereinafter set forth, located west of Columbia Avenue, south of Waverly Road, north of Maple Street, to provide for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form, to provide for a time when this ordinance shall take effect. The ordinance has been read by title and is designated as ordinance number 2015-07, and the title is hereby approved. I need a motion to dispense with the statutory rule.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor of the motion, Lacy, Beck, Campbell, Fritz, Pike, Schmidt, Hans, motion carried.
This is ordinance number 2015-07. Would anyone like to move that this ordinance be passed and adopted as read?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? And the question is, shall ordinance number 2015-07 be finally passed and adopted? Please register your vote. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Schmidt, Candace, Pike, Fritz, Camper, Beck, Leeske, motion carried.
We'll now move on to item number 5, and this is consideration of a voluntary annexation of Web 4th edition. Is there anything else to add, John? Otherwise, are there any questions?
Just it, third and final reading.
Yeah, is there any questions or comments from the council? And we can introduce this again, or do I just read it? Okay, unless there's any other questions or comments? An ordinance declaring the annexation of certain contiguous and adjacent tracts of land, urban and suburban in character, more specifically the land included in Web 4th edition to the city of Seward, to the corporate limits of the city of Seward, Nebraska, and extending the limits thereof accordingly, to describe the real estate to be annexed and its boundaries, to provide for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form, to provide for a time when this ordinance shall take effect. Because this is the third time, we don't need a motion to suspend the statutory rule. So what I need now is, unless there's any further discussion, I need on ordinance number, again, 2015-05. Would anyone like to move that this ordinance be passed and adopted as read?
So moved.
Second.
The motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question is, shall ordinance number 2015-05 be finally passed and adopted? Please register your vote. Please display the vote.
Voting in favor of the motion, Pike, Fritz, Camper, Beck, Leeske, Candace, Schmidt, motion carried.
Thank you. Item number 6, this is consideration of request to upgrade the crosswalk signage and relocation of crosswalk on Columbia Avenue. And I believe we have representatives from the medical center here tonight.
Yes.
Roger, welcome.
Roger Meemer, CEO, Memorial Healthcare Systems. I wasn't sure what protocol was. I know information was handed out earlier through electronic format to the mayor and city council members. Memorial Healthcare Systems is requesting some upgrades to the crosswalk at the hospital and the Seward County Medical Center. I do have some other pamphlets here and some other information if you're interested in, if you didn't get an opportunity to read through that. We're doing a project at the front of the hospital that's starting to eliminate a little bit of our parking that we had there before. That's not the main reason for wanting the crosswalk to be changed though. In our industry, the outpatient business is growing, the inpatient business is slowing down. What that means in our business is more activity, more cars coming in and out, more people going in and out of the building for shorter periods of time. And so we're starting to get a little bit of a crunch for parking, which then makes us use the west parking lot that used to be mostly for employees. We're starting to have to use more of that west parking lot for patients and customers. What we're proposing, or we would like to request, is the opportunity is we're working with our building contractor to relocate that crosswalk, move it a little bit further to the south, so it will act a little more like a feeder to the campus across the very busy Columbia Avenue. Currently, it's directly across from the entrance to the hospital. If we can move it a little bit to the north and give a little bit more activity, a little more guidance for the customer and the patients as they figure out how to cross Columbia Avenue. As you've seen, we've done a couple studies. We did a study of our own patient mix and our employees crossing the street during certain periods of time throughout the week. And we also brought in an outside service to put a counter down for the car traffic that goes across that area. For that 7-day period of time, there was 35,000 cars that passed that area. On average, on Monday morning, between 7:30 and 8:30, I think is what the numbers were. We have close to 400 cars that pass that area, as well as between 70 to 80 people that try to cross that crosswalk. And so what we're proposing is getting that crosswalk moved up, make it more identifiable for both the pedestrian that's crossing and also for the automobile drivers. If you've ever come down there, it's kind of a chicken crossing the road type of thing. You stand there, you kind of see, and you go, is this car going to stop? Some do, some don't. So if you're a driver, you might be one that stops, the one behind you may not. And it gets to be very confusing. And I think it's very unsafe. So with our proposal, we're asking to upgrade the signage as well. As you see the current signage, there's two signs, one on the north side, one on the south side. that represents that there's a crosswalk coming up. We'd like to propose that those two signs have a head put on those signs, the word ahead, another sign added to the bottom of that. At that point, and then at the point of the crosswalk, the ability to be able to move that to the south, it'll give us an opportunity to put signs on both sides of that crosswalk that represents that that's where the crosswalk actually is, with signs underneath those with arrows. And those drawings are in the handout and so forth. The third thing we'd like to propose and request then also would be any sort of a blinking light system that could draw attention even more to that crosswalk. Again, our goals here are to make it safer and more visible for the driver in the automobile, so they can know that that's coming up, have a better warning that that's coming up, and also for the customers and patients and visitors who are trying to cross Columbia to get over to our campus, have a more distinct area for them to cross at. We'd also put fencing in front of that parking lot to try to guide people to that crosswalk. You know, it's tricky. People tend to like to cross where it's most convenient, but we try to make that more of a kind of a focal point to cross that very busy street. Again, 400 cars crossing there or more. At the same time, that 60 or 70 people are trying to cross. It can get to be a little bit hairy. So that's what we'd like to propose. We don't know the protocol around how blinking lights and things like that work, but that's what we'd like to see and propose. So with that, I'll open up for any questions or.
I do like the idea of having some sort of fence on the west side of that, because I know as someone who drives that every day, going back and forth to work, it's, you fall into a trap of not taking the crosswalk as seriously when people are sort of crossing wherever they want. So it's sort of like, well, they're not technically in the crosswalk, so I legally don't have to stop for them, but I also don't want to hit them. So you're going to slow down or they're going to jump out of the way.
Right.
So I do think if you can, the more you can sort of guide people to one point, I think helps alleviate the confusion of where that is. Because I've even had times where I've slowed down for someone and they almost seem surprised, like really, like you're not gonna just fly in front of me, and so.
They'll step off the curb.
Right, like they're like this Frogger, like they're testing the water. So I think that's a big improvement. As far as the flashing light, I'd have to check with Mel on that. We typically only have flashing lights, I believe, at school crossings, and usually it's during a set time when school is either about to start or has ended. Is that right?
That's correct. And Larry Ruther, we talked about that also. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's very expensive to get the wires and the lighting put up there for it. Maybe something we could also look at is maybe some solar power or something there if it's possible.
I believe the hospital would be interested in helping with any of the funding for the
Yeah.
item. Obviously, you have to manage it.
We also, I've been working with you and Kevin the past several months on the signage and lighting. We can also, Larry's willing to put up just maybe some more street lighting just to light up that area
Right.
at night.
Yeah.
And people can see that way also. So
You bet. Because
there's several options.
where that crosswalk lies, it's hard to even get lighting on the entrance side of the hospital,
Right.
because it's a drop-off area as well. So we've got a crosswalk walking into where the people are pulling in and dropping off, so you can't put a pole there for light. And so if we can move it, we can get more lighting over it as well.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
If the council would want to approve, I think that what you're asking for is all reasonable. I don't know about the blinking lights at this time, but maybe we could discuss whether it's feasible, just because we don't typically do that. And, you know, if we do it for something other than a school, then are we gonna get other requests perhaps, and we haven't really thought that through it as, well, we did it for them, that kind of thing. So we wanna be careful with the flashing lights, setting a precedent on that, but I don't know if the other signage that to me seems pretty typical is just where you think it should be versus where it has been. Chris first and then Barb.
Comment first on the flashing light and setting precedents. We always worry about setting precedents. The reality is we always get to make a decision whether we want to do it or not. So I know this area well because I drive it quite often too, and it is dangerous, and I always get nervous when I see the elderly folks trying to cross there because they don't cross fast. And I've always waited for somebody to get hit. What is your guys' completion date on your project?
The completion date on that front end of the facility is September 4th. But the actual work that could be set in the front, getting the front done before we actually move inside the building, is more in June and July. Because we're looking to be able to open up some more parking in the front, have the front end of that landscaping and stuff done. So that's what we're kind of focusing on now, trying to figure out if we can let the contractors see the plan and say, this is what we're wanting to do. So hopefully around June or July.
Well, I guess I'd like to see options, whatever we can do there, from a cost standpoint, and if it's gonna be something that's expensive this budget year, do we have the funds to do it? And, I mean, I don't know if you guys have grants available or anything from that standpoint, and if the hospital is willing to help out with it. I think we need to do it right, so that we're not doing it again 10 years from now. You know, and it's probably asking more than what anybody wants, but I'd love to be able to see, push a button and it makes you stop. Because I have seen the elderly people with walkers try and walk across that, and they don't move fast. So,
I say, it's kind of a unique situation in a way of what you're proposing with your clientele coming in and patients. It's only a safe path
Sure.
through a midway.
And we think our responsibility is like the fencing. Also, our responsibility is to help them get across the street, but once they get across the street, have an easy access point for them to the other entrances. Because if they don't have that, they're gonna cross where it's most convenient to get into the building, whether that's running across right across from where the clinic entrance is, or right across where the hospital entrance is. At least we're trying to give it a better opportunity. So, you know, the staff, they show up every day. They know the process. Patients, they don't show up every day. So we wanna make a very defined, good parking area for them, and then very definitive for how to get across that street and over to the services.
Barb?
The people that have approached me about it, their concern is that you can't see people at night. And especially, you know, during the winter months when
It's dark earlier.
it's dark earlier. So I think that even just having a street light there would be,
And I know
and
we've
that
been,
would help a lot.
I know we've been,
Visited about that.
and Larry, we've been working on transitioning to the white LED lights. And I believe they appear to be brighter, at least they provide a wider,
We can put a bigger wattage light
Yeah.
there on a taller pole to,
Yeah.
you know,
and,
or 2 or 3 lights or whatever it takes.
and at least in the time being, until the rest of the lights are cycled out and replaced, they'll be the only bright white light there, because the rest are sodium, the sodium rust color. So, but I guess what I'm hearing is, would it maybe make sense to have the departments that are affiliated with this, maybe sit down and come up with a few ideas as far as, different ways to do this, and obviously in working with the hospital, and then maybe come back with some proposals for the council to look at, and that way you could either choose one, or you can modify one depending on what people think makes the most sense. Would you,
Yep, that sounds fine.
is the council okay with that proposal? Yeah, Charles?
One question after looking at the drawing, we're somewhat close to the corner, and obviously people are gonna have a legal right to cross at the corner. Do we create any kind of extra danger for them or concern for them if people are used to stopping for this new crosswalk that's kind of in the center of the block and maybe aren't looking as close on the corner, or what's your experience with folks crossing at that corner?
You mean right where the crosswalk is now, or are you referring to?
Yeah.
It's a hit and miss. I mean, people that need to go into that direct entrance will use that crosswalk. But people go, the clinic are gonna cross wherever along that street, and employees that end up parking in the south side of the lot, cross over there versus people going closer to the crosswalk. It's quite a ways, the crosswalk's quite a ways south from where a lot of the major parking is taking place.
And I assume that the old crosswalk would not be repainted.
Right,
Is
our
that
thoughts would be
Probably.
one clean.
And with the fencing, there are people who are parking in that lot will be naturally driven to this focal point.
That was
So
your goal.
hopefully it would address a lot of that. Yeah, Dick?
On Bradford, on the north and south sides, I would suggest taking out the portion of the sidewalk that goes down to the street where you cross. And take that part of the sidewalk out, that way they have to go either that way or that way.
Can you show him what you're talking about?
Talking at the very south end, you
Well,
start in
here-
here,
here.
You can see that from there, Roger.
so the very north end?
The very north end.
Right-
where the
right
current
down to
crosswalk
Bradford.
is.
Yeah, it'd be the
So the sidewalk that goes to the street,
Right,
that portion of
just,
it?
just
Yeah,
the
just that
portion that
little
goes to the
portion.
street, take that out, then they either have to go to the south or go to the north.
Mel?
I
mean,
disagree. You need that access for other pedestrians or people on our walking sidewalk, they need that access.
That's not good.
Because
But why-
it's
but why
handicap
go-
accessible, that still needs to be there for other people, you know, going to or from in that residence area. We still need.
But that's just going across the street to the hospital. That's the only section you're taking out, the part that goes across the street to the hospital. The rest of the sidewalk all stays there.
I understand what you're saying, but, you're still eliminating an area where, you know, where somebody else could cross that.
Well, I disagree with
Well, I
that.
tell you what we could do is we could probably include different scenarios in those options, and you can take a look and see what you want, because obviously whatever is proposed, maybe there's 2 or 3 different ideas proposed, it'd be easy to add or take out that sidewalk at that point if you felt so inclined, so that we can have that
I
discussion.
mean, there'll be enough fencing around there that, like Roger's saying, you gotta funnel them to this one exit. That's the only way you're gonna go. If somebody else is walking across that street and goes to that intersection, they can go and cross it. It's just like any other section. I mean, you're crossing at your own risk, if you would say, but, I mean, it's not any different really than any other intersection,
Okay.
you know, so.
Because it's similar to the one on the very south end, on the street,
Correct.
you know,
That's
we have
correct.
staff that park way on that end, they'll walk across that.
They'll walk
It's not a
across
crosswalk, but it's a extension of
Yeah,
sidewalks all
you
over
did-
town.
We'll take care of it.
They just, they know that it's not a crosswalk, they know that.
Is there any other questions or comments from the council? Otherwise, would someone like to make a motion that, just so we have clear direction, to provide multiple proposals back to the council for consideration?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your vote. Please display the votes.
In favor of the motion, Ham, Schmidt, Pike, Fritz, Campbell, Beck, Leeske, motion carries.
Thanks, Ron.
Hey, thank you, appreciate it.
Alright. Item number 7, consideration for approval of 14th Street Substation Construction Project. We got the OA.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the
Welcome.
council. I'm Garrett Klein with Olson Associates. We're presenting the bid documents for the 14th Street Substation and requesting the council's acceptance and authorization to advertise the project for bid. Video there shows the new facility. This will be a 12 kV facility, ultimately replacing what's immediately south of it now that has served as the source to Hughes Brothers and the 4 kV system in the west part of town for many, many years. It was identified in the 2009 study as something in need of improvement in the short term, and that's what this project is. It includes 4 circuits that will initially take on duty as the main service to Hughes Brothers, back up to Ash Street and water tower substations, and also allow take on the west rural out to the Wellfield line to remove that exposure from some other city circuits. So some reliability improvements as part of the job too. 4 circuits, so far the transformer was purchased late last year. It showed up in early January and the site work is done. The estimate for this work is $555,000 plus about $125,000 in owner furnished equipment that will be installed as part of the project. It was purchased separately due to long lead times and to save a little bit on contractor markup. Construction duration we'd expect to be between 20 and 26 weeks, and the bulk of the work probably starting in late summer and finishing in the fall. We have proposed dates, I think that showed up in the agenda, that would allow us to be at your June council meeting with a recommendation. Although I do see that you have an agenda item that addresses when you need stuff maybe for a council meeting, so if that changes substantially, it might be the 3rd meeting or the 2nd meeting in June. With that, we're requesting acceptance and authorization to advertise it for bids.
Are there any questions or comments from the council? Otherwise, you go down these one at a time. So 7A would be acceptance and approval of bidding documents. We would need a motion. We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on 7A? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
In favor, Hand Schmidt, Pike, Fritz, Campbell, Beck, Leeske, motion carried.
All right, for item 7B, acceptance of proposed advertisement dates of April 23rd, 2015, or establishment of dates.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
In favor of the motion, Leeske, Beck, Campbell, Fritz, Pike, Schmidt, Hand, motion carried.
All right, item 7C, acceptance of proposed bid opening date of May 19th, 2015, 2 p.m. City of Seward, 537 Main Street, Seward, Nebraska, or establishment of bid opening date, time, and place.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
In favor, Pike, Fritz, Campbell, Beck, Leeske, Hand, Schmidt, motion carried.
All right, item 7D, acceptance and approval of publication of advertisement on April 29th, May 6th, and May 13th, 2015 in the Seward Independent.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
In favor, Leeske, Beck, Campbell, Fritz, Pike, Schmidt, Hand, motion carried.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 8, update on Great Plains Communications fiber optic ring installation in the downtown area and discussion of extending fiber optic into the community. We got some representatives here tonight.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Casey Garrigan. I am one of the owners of Great Plains Communications. We are located out of Blair, Nebraska. I have some associates with me as well that would be happy to answer some of your questions regarding the current bid, or the current build that is will be starting here in a week or so. My duty is to give you a little background upon the organization. We're a 105-year-old Nebraska-owned, Nebraska-based company out of Blair, as I said. We serve around 90 communities across the state as their independent local telephone carrier. And we serve about 45 communities across the state as their cable television provider as well. We have the largest fiber network in the state of Nebraska. That's larger than any of the other major carriers, national or regional carriers. And being a wholly owned Nebraska organization, we're pretty proud of that fact. What brought us into Seward was last summer we had a customer desire to have connectivity into the center of Seward onto the water tower as a cell phone provider contracted with us to deliver that. We brought our fiber up the highway, crossed the train tracks in the canal, came up Main Street, hung a left, then hung a right, went through an alley, and ended up at the water tower. Upon that conversation, we spoke with some representatives of the city, and they expressed interest in possibly doing a downtown fiber ring to support some of the local businesses within the community, to make sure that we keep businesses in the downtown area and allow them access to high-speed data. At that point, we entered into a contract with the city, and we have engineered the project, and we're about ready to get started. So before I pass it on to our engineers, I'd offer any questions if you had about our organization as a whole, or anything regarding Great Plains Communications.
You look good for 105.
Well, let me pass it over to, this is Chris Wolf, Travis Radner, they're our engineers, and the other person with us is Jeff Mason, who is our accounts manager as well. So
We brought a map. We have a map on.
No, I just don't know what we're gonna be able to display it.
Yeah, we don't have a, but we can leave a map, and I brought some,
colorful marketing material for you too.
How large is your map? John, would you guys mind helping them out? Just so everyone has an idea of what we're talking about.
What we're proposing, or what we've worked with the city on, trying to, he's got a, maybe I should just set it up there.
You can kind of talk through the streets maybe.
The route that we're gonna take with this, when we buried up to the water tower project, we're gonna leave off of that, the build that comes to this building. We're gonna go north up 7th Street, and we're gonna go east on Broad to the alley between 5th and 4th, and then go down all the way to South Street, and then come across on the backside of the library. What street is that? On South Street. And then we'll utilize the rest of the fiber that we put in to the water tower to close in the downtown ring.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's the one that we.
That's the original one.
Yep.
So the idea was, as we built fiber into Seward, we picked up customers and continue to pick up customers along our route. So Myers Ford is a customer, Nebraska Equipment is a customer, we just turned up St. Gregory. The guys are in town today, the other engineers, the guys that do the real work, their guys we're installing at the Cobblestone right now. The municipal building, I think City Hall's done.
This building.
This building, yeah. And then we're working at Hughes Brothers today. So as we expand our fiber network throughout communities in Nebraska, we'll offer service along the route. So as we came into Seward, we've done the same thing. The thing to keep in mind about Great Plains is we invest in the communities we serve. We purchase land over by the power company and put up a hut. And a hut with the equipment required to serve customers, it's about a $250,000 expenditure, which is, we've purchased and it's in place today. We have the hut brought in, and so that's in place. And so what that hut allows us to do is continue to grow in Seward, and then it'll allow us to bring in additional services. We'll have voice services available within the next 6 months. Right now, we're just installing internet. What this means for the Main Street business is they will be right off of our fiber ring. So that allows them easy and affordable access to phone and internet by a 100-year-old telephone company that's gonna be here for another 100 years. So it's a big deal to them to have access to technology. Yeah, write that down.
Quote him on that.
It's his great grandfather, he's gotta live with it. But then that gives them the same access to the same kind of technology that large customers like Hughes Brothers has. But then they have access, they'll have smaller bandwidth, maybe they just want a couple of phone lines. But they'll have reliable, dependable service with a company that's in town to take care of that circuit, that internet and the phone lines for them for years to come.
And how do those speeds compare, just so people have an idea of what an improvement that would be for somebody compared to what they may currently have access to versus what this would provide them?
Well, we can, I'm Travis Ryder, I'm the outside plant engineer for Great Plains. I oversee all fiber deployment projects such as this, and I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. So how our network relates into comparison with other networks across the state or even the country. Our build into Seward was, we've been actually looking at Seward a couple years prior to the build that brought us in here, but our network today is over 5,000 miles. A fiber network that across Nebraska, and we now have a presence in Cheyenne. We just finished up last year. A couple routes into Denver, Minneapolis, Kansas City, but the primary backbone of our network is split at 100 gig capacity, which is primary for any type of customer that we put on it. But But the thing about it is that the practices that we do, we spend more upfront on our builds because we believe that we want to be around for long term, and all of our cable facilities buried. That's our first initial investment. It costs more upfront, but at the end of the day, we know it's going to provide more reliable service because lightning storms, ice storms, gopher squirrels, whatever you name it, takes it down.
You won't have any aerial fiber around downtown. It's all underground, so.
Cosmetically, it looks better.
Cosmetically, it looks better.
The other thing that we do a little bit different than everybody else is we're a one-stop shop. We do all of our own engineering, we do our own construction, we do our own splicing, we do our own equipment installation, and we monitor all of our own equipment from our corporate office in Blair. We have a network operations center. So Seward is a dot on our map, on our monitor in the office there, and then if for some reason something goes down, we know about it probably before most of our customers do.
So in town, one of the things that fiber does is it allows you to scale quickly. So if you're a customer and you have a lot of business, certain, seasonal business during the year, you have the ability to scale up. Maybe it's a 10 meg connection today, but over the Christmas holiday, you need 20 or 30 or 40 meg. So it allows us to quickly scale that. And I'm not an engineer, I'm a sales guy, but sitting at their laptop, they can change that bandwidth for that customer in minutes. And we get tested on that a lot, but it allows us to accommodate your needs as a customer. And also because it's fiber, your upload speed and your download speed are the same. And so what that means is typically what we'll find in Seward is you maybe have 3 meg upload and 1 meg download, or maybe 5 meg upload and 5 meg download and 1 meg upload. For a carrier, and I've worked for other carriers, for a carrier, all of our cost is in the upload speed. That's really what drags on our network is the upload speed. So you'll typically see the offerings of, hey, we can give you 50 meg up or 50 meg down and 5 meg up. Or we'll give you 15 meg down and 1 meg up. When you have fiber, it's equal. So you have 10 meg up, 10 meg down. So you can download documents as quickly as you can send documents. And whether you're a small business or a large business, you need to have the ability to send and receive documents. Like a good example is at Myers Ford, because they're a car dealer, they're sending out pictures of cars all the time. And their internet was so slow, it took forever to send a document. And if one of the sales reps was sending a document at his desk, the other guy couldn't send anything till the other guy was done because they had such small upload speed. So fiber allows you to have equal upload and download speed, and it makes a big difference. So in answer to your question.
So like for an average user in town, whatever that upload download speed might be, like how many times faster are we talking about? So people have kind of a perspective.
It depends on what kind of equipment we put at the customer room.
Okay.
Normally our standard box, we come in at, we can do 75 meg up front. But obviously we have to throttle that down depending on, I don't want to get into all of it, but how we split the fiber and how that bandwidth sometimes is used with other customers. But like if we're serving a high priority customer, our standard box is a gig, right out like a Hughes Brothers or something like that. We show up with a gig type of service right off the bat.
So they have the ability to scale to a gig. So some of the customers that we sold today, they were using a 3 meg circuit, and it wasn't working. They couldn't email, the service wasn't working. So we've typically, what we've done at this point is we've put 10 meg circuits in and 20 meg circuits in. Hughes Brothers is larger than that, and we've had some other customers that are larger than that. But so if you think of a Main Street business, if you think of a Main Street business with a couple of employees, they need, maybe they just need a 10 meg that works and a couple of phone lines. And so we'll be in the position to be able to offer that.
And like Jeff said, if something was to happen that you would require even an upgrade, it's a virtual connection for us. It's somebody logging in on a laptop and turning it up, either from our corporate office or even tech in this area. So.
And one thing Casey didn't mention is there's 230 employees across the state, and Great Plains has half of those employees live in Blair, and the other half are field techs and broadband techs that are
that are throughout the whole state in the areas we cover. So we get to, we have the ability to support customers very quickly.
Well, and part of the reason why we pursued this was because we wanted to, have investment in the downtown so that it remains viable. Because typically with older buildings in particular, there tends to be an added expense, especially when you try to remodel, and often will lag on wiring and perhaps even on technology. And so that was the reason why we thought it would be important to focus on the downtown. But we always have other businesses around Seward, along the corridor. You mentioned some, but there are others that are farther back, as well as even homes that might have businesses out of their home or other uses. How easily could you expand your network into either residential or in other commercial that aren't along your main fiber line? And what does that expense typically look like? Is there so people have an idea that, hey, you know what, I like this, I might want this, but I live so many whatever way, or my business is a mile or whatever off, or can you kind of put that in perspective?
What we normally do on a situation like that is we look at each route independently. If we see that there's possibly 20 businesses, but they're on the other side of town, we do an ROI on it. We determine what it's gonna cost us and how many customers we have to have up front to make that bill, justify that bill. The nice thing about the city ring that we're working with you folks on is we were able to utilize our initial build up to the water tower. And to be honest with you, we actually, the money that you guys are sending our way is basically covering half the bill overall. So but we saw the potential there with you guys as well, that there was a really condensed area of customers that we could go after there. So I hate to dodge it, but we're kind of a case by case. Really gets down to Chris and I engineering the route and seeing how much stuff Jeff can sell along.
We've really focused on, at this point, we're really just focused on providing the businesses in Seward access to high-speed fiber and phone lines so they can run their business. As we've talked to customers, the first thing out of their mouth is, "This is so cool, can we get it at our house?" Let's get it in your business first, So, we're really focused on the businesses. There's been a couple businesses today, I'm kind of along your route, but, our focus right now is just on making sure the businesses have the service they need.
There's a lot of gamers in town.
There's a lot of gamers in town. Yeah.
They don't want to blame it on lag anymore.
That's right.
Charles?
Well, we're fortunate in that our hospital and Concordia University are both along Columbia. Is that one of the next?
This is a proposed
phases?
route that we might take out of town. On our software for our CAD, we can't just shut off proposed builds. So unfortunately, that is not part of the city ring, but we're always looking and thinking ahead and designing and getting prices so we can get good. And obviously, that's the way to the college, and Jeff has been,
We're in conversation with both the college and the hospital.
And one of the last things we really want to point out on our network is that the amount of multiple internet providers that we buy from. We buy from minimum 2, if not sometimes 3 and 4 internet providers from around the country that we directly connect to. So if for some reason Chicago went dark, our Denver connection picks up and you would never know the difference to the end customer. That's how our network's set up.
So we use level 3 for internet in Omaha. We also use Hurricane Electric in Denver. So the idea is that your internet will always be kind of failover safe. If something happens in Omaha and there's no ability to get to internet, we're already connected to Denver. If something happens in Denver, we're already connected to Omaha. So it's kind of a regional redundancy. A lot of carriers, like the carrier that's been here for many years, they have just one provider. So if they go down, everyone's out of internet. And so we carry 2.
And the additional benefit of that is that when you go with one provider, you have one connection to that provider. So all your customers are sharing that bandwidth on that one connection, whereupon we load balance that. Most of our customers on the east side of the state, they come off of level 3, which are on the west side. But the point is we make sure that we build in enough capacity on both connections to cover all of our customers at any given time. We don't like to oversubscribe our network. It's a bad practice, and we don't go down that road.
You have a question, Ellen?
Are your field tech subcontractors or are they employees?
No, they're full-time employees.
That's a good question.
And how close is one to Seward?
We technically serve North Bend, and that's one of our island communities, and that is a kind of a hub regional office for us. Currently, we have 4 out of there today? Four. And then, trying to think, we have folks in, industrial Red Cloud area, Chapman. Yeah, but North Bend would be the primary techs that we would have to cover in this area today.
So tonight, there's, today we have 5, techs working over at, Hughes Brothers. And then you got us 4 just talking.
We're over
We're not
here.
doing any real work, we're just talking. And it's about 8 or 9 nights at the cobblestone too, so, yeah.
So what's the service level agreement then? If a tech's coming from, if you guys are done here, things in place, tech's coming from North Bend, what's my response time?
Typically what we have on, because we serve some large customers, across the state, and we serve wireless, towers across the state, our typical service level agreement is 4 hours. And so what that means is it gets us 2 hours to get to the site and 2 hours to fix whatever the service issue. If it can't be fixed over the phone, then we have to dispatch. You know, Travis mentioned our network operating center, which is 24/7 in Blair. If it can't be fixed over the phone, we'll dispatch someone, and it's typically 4 hours.
And the other thing about that is, we take that commitment just a little bit farther. Like I said, we do everything in-house, so all of our fiber splicing we do in-house. That way, if we experience a fiber cut anywhere along the network, if we notice that both ends of the nodes go dark in that connection, we pretty much assume we got a fiber cut somewhere. And usually our trailers are dispatched the minute that stuff goes down. Actually, most of the time our on-site response time is 2 hours or less.
That's why he's an engineer on the sales guy.
That's 24/7?
24/7.
Yeah, we have, Great Plains has 10 splicing trailers across the state, and 12 splicing trailers across the state. And why that's important to you is because I think we have more splicing trailers in Nebraska than in any of the other phone companies, but that means we have a splicing trailer, so if there's a fiber cut, we have somebody that's in a trailer and here.
The resources that we have available in-house, a good example is when I started with the company, we had the huge ice storm back in '98, I think, go through Omaha. And we actually went and helped CenturyLink put their stuff back up. I mean, that's kind of the resources we have in-house, and it's used across the state by more than one carrier. We're kind of the fallback guys. If something goes down for them and they need help, they pick up the phone and call. So.
That was true with Pilger last year. We don't, Great Plains doesn't serve Pilger, but we helped the other phone companies. They called us for help, so.
We butt up next to them.
Sid?
Josh, this may be a question for you. On the agenda, it says this is an update. So obviously, we've already actually approved them building this, right? And so we're not approving anything tonight, right?
No, this was, you guys you're getting ready to start
Yep.
working on this, and we knew there was gonna be some construction around downtown, and we didn't want people to start calling you wondering, what they tearing up, what are they doing? You won't tear up anything, right? So we just wanted to give them an opportunity to explain and update you all on what's going on downtown. And we had also had an inquiry from a citizen about with this project, would there be a way or plans for a future expansion? So that's why we kind of combined these two to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, so that they could update everyone on what the plan is, so that you're aware of the timetable and you kind of know what's going on. And also, in case people were interested in the service, they also know that who they can contact and get on the list and do your return of investment analysis and figure out what that would cost.
Exactly.
It sounds like you're not looking at residential at this time, that you're waiting to take care of maybe the bigger users that tend to be commercial in nature or academic or whatever.
Hospital.
The girls
Okay.
got feet underneath us while we're here and
Yeah.
get on and start there.
Yeah, so we're not asking the council for anything tonight, we just wanted you to answer, have any of your questions answered, so. Do you have any other questions on that? Okay.
As far as the construction, it's looking like either late next week or the following week for startup. Our field engineer, Bob Marksmeyer, he's the one who was here when we buried in town. He's worked with John a lot, and I think they have a pretty good relationship. So Bob will be on top of it and try to eliminate any hardships that any of the businesses have, and he'll give them a heads up, and if he has to close an alley or or what have you, so. And we use the local contractor here in town to pour back the concrete and stuff, so.
We encourage that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, to that point too, one of the things that I wanted to bring up as well is, my great-grandfather had, had the idea that once you're in a community, you're a part of the community. And that's something that we've been doing for 105 years. We don't just come down your alleys and rip up your concrete and try to sell as much service as we can and then hit the road. We've joined the chamber, we've joined the economic development group. We're a part of the community now, and we plan on being a part of the community moving forward. We're not a fly-by-night company, we're not just here to collect some bills and disappear and you'll never see us again. That's not the way we do business, that's not the way we've done business for 105 years. I don't think we could have gotten to 105 years if we did it any other way. So we're excited to be here, we're excited to be a part of the community, and we look forward to a long partnership with the city soon.
All right, well, we
Thanks for your time
appreciate
today.
that. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
If there's any other questions or comments from the council, otherwise, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like us to leave
I
it?
think this is best, we can make them, if they need a map, a
Okay.
state map like John has,
Yeah.
we can make that one,
Okay.
for this one's.
Yeah, I got you.
It'd be nice to try to have one available in case people have questions about how
Absolutely.
close they are to the ring and what the
Yep,
availability might be.
definitely.
Okay.
John would probably be, John or Jonathan would probably be a good local contact to get a hold of us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. And to come, and I know you had some questions, or you wanted to talk a little bit about future build out. Go ahead and come on up and state your name and your address.
Good evening, my name is Trevor Pierce, 1688 Harold K. Boulevard. And, I wanted to talk a little bit about the fiber internet, that's starting with the downtown ring, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about what I see are hidden opportunities for it to expand outside the downtown ring. I've been a Seward resident for a couple of years now, in June. During that time, I've had a real blessing to work at home. I work for a firm in Virginia as a web designer and a web developer. So my entire livelihood depends on a fast internet connection. And the representatives from Great Plains were just talking about connection speeds a few minutes ago. And comparatively, my connection is quite a bit faster than most. I look at 35 megabits per second down and 5.5 megabits up. But I deal with files, with single files in some cases that would just about fill up a laptop hard drive. So I deal with, extraordinarily large files, and so having that limited bandwidth or limited speed, definitely presents some challenges. But I feel like a fast internet connection has become part of the critical infrastructure, along with electricity, fresh water, gas, and sewage. Businesses use the internet to place orders, to share files, and to communicate with their remote teams, which is becoming a lot more common. Certainly in the high-tech space, it used to be, you hired engineers, you hired developers, you hired designers, and you brought them into your home office, wherever that physically was located. But now, the best talent, oftentimes, they state unequivocally, I would rather work at home. And so, if you want the best talent, you kind of have to bring the work to them rather than bring them to the work, and the internet is definitely a great equalizer. So a lot of these tasks, they can certainly be accomplished with a slower metered connection, but they're definitely made easier by faster unlimited ones. All other things equal, for two businesses, it's the one with access to a higher speed connection that's going to be more successful. When I'm talking about better service, I'm talking about both speed and bandwidth. Speed, how quickly can you move packets of information from one computer or one server to the next, and how many of them, when you're talking about bandwidth, how many packets or how much information can you move without incurring additional fees. Some providers will give you, so much bandwidth. They'll say, well, you have enough bandwidth to stream Netflix for a couple of weeks, but then, we're going to start charging you extra because you're consuming a lot of information, so that's going to cost you extra. You know, these type of limitations, they discourage businesses and private citizens from using standard business practices like video streaming, conference calling, online file storage, online backups, you know, being able to create second or third backups of your hard drive on a cloud service that's remote, so if you had a fire or a catastrophic loss, you'd still have backups. But that, again, that requires speed and a large connection. I think another opportunity for Seward is in our public schools. Right now the schools are moving to provide devices, I believe iPad tablets to students, one-to-one, one device, one student. And with an average classroom size, you know, if you're watching high definition video and every one of 15, 20, 25 students is watching it once, you're looking at a very large data load that if you don't have enough speed or a big enough connection in, you're going to end up with a video that starts and stops, and you know that students are going to wait for it to buffer, and they're not really going to learn as effectively as they could. And a lot of schools are starting to offer these type of distance learning. Some colleges are offering entire programs or entire course studies online. So again, having these type of connections in the schools or in the college is going to give us a leg up. The hospitals are another definite immediate beneficiary of such connection. In Central City, the hospital purchased and installed a T1 line, which is a very large connection line. And using that, they are able to share services with a hospital halfway around the world in Australia. They are able to send and receive high-resolution images to one another and take advantage of the time zone differences and share work without having to wake up a radiologist in the middle of the night or a specialist. You know, someone on the other side of the world can read those images, transmit them back, and without disruption with faster service. And I feel like having high-speed fiber connection inside the city is going to present opportunities that we can't see yet. Opportunities that the city hadn't considered, or that businesses that had not considered starting up here or expanding here, but having that connection might make us look more attractive. You know, I feel this will give Seward a boost in competitive economic markets, and any expenditure in this realm is going to be an investment in our city's future. And I would love to see this idea move forward, and anything I can do to help it, I am prepared to do.
Well, thank you. So any questions or comments from the council? We'll go ahead and move on to our next item. We have item number 9, consideration of award of vendor for municipal code codification project. Bonnie and John, either one of you.
At a request from the council at budget time, I believe it was, to go out and look at updating our current code book. We send out RFPs and receive 4 responses back from companies that provide that service. John and I spent quite a bit of time reviewing the RFPs, and we also did some online demonstrations and phone interviews with the companies. It was my understanding that one of the things that the council and staff and the community were looking for was searchable documents, or a way to search the code that is much easier than what we currently have. And 2 of the companies we felt were better than the other 2 with providing that service. All 4 of them can give us a hard book like what we have now. They all would provide that service, but the difference is probably going to be in the searchable document. Based on that criteria, or what we were looking at, the one that we felt rose to the top was called General Code. In the state of Nebraska, they are only currently serving the city of Papillion, but they serve many other state agencies across the United States. The other company was Municode. They do serve more cities in Nebraska. Don't know that that's necessarily a reason to go with one or the other, whether it's more cities or not. I did contact Papillion. They've been with them for about 10 years and are happy with their service. That's the one that we would recommend going with. The cost is $8,500 per year. To do the internet access, they take care of all of that. We wouldn't have to rely on the library to post our ordinances or anything. It's all done through this company. That's an additional $11.95 per year. The other company charges a base cost of $99.50, and then it's an additional $9.95 to do the internet piece of it. John can add them.
Well, as Bonnie stated, the big deal here is searchability and be able to access the items and also to resolve the conflicts in our existing codes. The last code that we talked about, we're also looking at putting our uniform land development codes on there, and they're about half the price of what the other companies were. They also were willing to work with us in assisting us. They will put our existing code, they'll run through it, put it on the internet immediately while they're working on doing the codification. So we have some accessibility to the internet as well as in-house as the project, as the codification progresses, which is probably gonna be about 9 months to a year for them to go through it. It just seemed like they were more interested in doing stuff for us than the other companies were, without saying, yeah, but this will cost you, well, this will cost you, well, this will cost you. The thing that impressed me is they have all their code people in the house, code being the code for writing the programs that go onto the internet. So if you need something, they're able to attack it right away versus having somebody say, okay, we'll get our guys to work on it, and they ship it off to another place. So.
They also, this general code, currently now, to post our minutes or to post ordinances or anything like that, we send it in an electronic file over to the library and they put it on our webpage. We could do it all, I guess I'll say in-house. We wouldn't have to send it to the library to post it. We could have all of that. And it would be a link on our webpage, but no one really, no one would really know it's not us doing it, I guess. It's kind of seamless.
Any questions?
The other nice feature about the code and the searchability is, for instance, if you were looking up something, you have the ability to yellow tag it and bookmark it. You also have the opportunity to put sticky notes on there and then download those for future presentation or for handouts, or to send them as to other councilmen.
Any questions or comments, Charles?
What was it about the American Legal out of Cincinnati, Ohio that you did not like? Because I noticed they serve the League of Nebraska Municipalities in 100 other cities in the state, so they've got a good presence. But what
They
was
were the other one that we looked at. They were a little bit higher in price. I don't think they did as good a job as presenting it on the web and the search features and tools that were there. And it was somewhat misleading because they also said that they serve the League of Municipalities. They actually don't do work for the League of Municipalities. They get resources from them for their other clients. So it was kind of misleading. They did do Omaha. They did do a couple of the first-class cities. I was kind of leaning towards them until we seen the presentation from the general code and the cost. Again, it was a cost factor. It was the ability for them to provide anything that we wanted, and they actually one of the things that they did. For instance, they said, well, we put your code up there immediately, and that's free for a year, and then you'll be able to use that when the new code comes up, da-da-da. And I said, well, we kind of start thinking, well, by the time we get this up there, it's going to be a year, and all our free time is going to be on using the old code. And they came back and they said, Bonnie asked if we could just wait till our free time started when the new code came out. He said, yeah, we can do that. And then they came back and said, we'll just give you 2 years, one with the old code, one with the new code.
Any other questions or comments from the council?
No, there was a third company, McNally, that actually resides here in Nebraska, and they were exorbitantly high and terrifically long on their delivery of the product. Most everybody was in the $1,000 to $2,000 range on the upkeep, and $10,000 on the initial, and they were at $17,500.
And they don't do an internet type
Right. There's
service.
no
They would
presentation, it was just.
provide us with a CD with updates, and we basically kind of had the same, what we do now, we upload it onto our web.
Unless any other questions or comments, I entertain a motion.
So the $8,500 is a one-time fee?
That's for them to go through the whole deal.
Essentially $1,200 per year then to maintain it.
Right.
And,
And then any ordinances that would come up as $18.
right, and then every ordinance, I believe I have a cost in there, it's $18 a page.
Right. What's
So-
the zoning code, that addition?
That would be the $4,500, and for the other companies, one was,
But what is that doing? That's doing the
it'll
codification
do
of
the
that also?
codification and
Okay.
zoning codes, and it would also put it on the internet for searching.
And what did we budget for this?
It's great. I was just thinking that.
17,500.
17.5?
And because it will probably take a year regardless of the company we choose, we'd probably have to budget, into the
It'd
next
be a
year to
budget
finish it
carryover.
up.
In addition to the annual expense.
Now, you can choose not to do the internet piece of it, you could just have them come in and revamp our code and we'd have the book again, but that is an option.
I think part of the attraction of having the internet component is just for serving the community, for anyone who wants to be able to look at this and the building code in particular, if any contractors, and I assume a lot of local contractors probably know it by heart, or they should, but then, occasionally you have out-of-town contractors who may not be as familiar with how the Seward code works compared to other communities they've been in. So while not having it online would probably work for us internally in-house, it wouldn't be as accessible or convenient for the rest of the community. Is that fair? John?
That's a pretty good assessment. The other thing that really kind of kept this company ahead of everybody else was, that I thought was important was, when you start searching through the codes and looking for stuff, and you're talking about what it costs to keep you alive for an hour working for the city of Seward, you can use that $1,000 or $1,100 up pretty quick. But the thing that kind of impressed me, for instance, with this code is, you get leveled access on your passwords to the internet service. So for instance, as a council person, you could run rampant, but not only in the codes that are presented in the state of Nebraska, but you could type in codes from any other place across the United States and pick up similar codes that will search for you and bring back code indexes that would give enlightenment on stuff that we haven't been doing, that other communities are doing already. So that was one part of it. The other part of it was, it seemed to be a lot more user-friendly from Joe Schmo sitting at home, and it gave a pretty detailed deal on how to get in, what to look for, and it brings up related items, so you don't have to be an expert at typing in the exact right keyword to get stuff up that you might want. It'll bring up an array of 4 different items that you can pick for and go deeper and deeper and deeper, so.
And I think one of the things, our current code, we maybe have some areas where, we allow chickens here in this section, but we don't over here in this section. It's because, I believe the city attorney would find the search tool real welcome to make sure we don't end up conflicting our own code when we're writing ordinance.
We're still not sure how many cats you can own, are we, John? Somewhere around 4. Charles first and then Seth.
So just to clarify, if you're seeking a motion, you would want it to include the base cost plus that zoning code. We'd want to do it all.
That would be the recommendation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we probably won't be going into the zoning portion of it because we're in the middle of updating that code right now, so it'll probably be a couple months before we actually have it on the zoning.
But they can get started on the general.
Sid?
I move that we award the bid to general code.
Second.
And this is the entire bid that we were discussing, just to be clear.
Including the internet piece.
Okay. The motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
I have very much on Lacey back, Patrick Fritz Pike, Schmidt, yes, motion carried.
Item number 10 is consideration of an ordinance establishing deadline for requesting items to be placed on the city council agenda. This is Councilmember Singleton's request, and he's obviously not here tonight, so he had asked me or he would like to have this item when it gets tabled until he can be here at a future meeting.
I'll move the table.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to table this. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Aaron Schmidt, Pike, Fritz, Campbell, Rick, Lacy, Motion.
Alright. Item 11, council to receive update on pending and threatened legal proceedings. Kelly?
I'm wondering, do you wanna maybe have John Hughes give the capital projects update first, and
We could do everything else first and then do that last if you'd like.
that's what I would suggest.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and adjust the, order on the agenda. We're in, with number 12, this is capital projects update. John?
Yes, last Tuesday, April 14th, Kelly and Bonnie and myself went to the county commissioners at a tax property hearing. We were successful in getting the tax removed from most of our farm ground leases, and we're still waiting a report on the sale of the lots, for the cemetery lots. TIF application for Bottle Rock at Blooming came in, and working on the budget project, CIP projects. Jackson Street paving is underway, Cedar Street will follow up. Building Planning Department, we received the County Justice Center plans last Friday, so we'll be doing the plan review for them. Working on the CIP info for 2015-2016. Researching plans for Plains Power Building. Put together a little report on the possibility of what it could do for us if we were to purchase that building. Street Department, they've been assisting on Cedar and Jackson Street projects, as well as putting in the bricks that we're trying out on the sanitary sewer repair. Electric Department is working on the substation, breaker switch out maintenance, and repos of grid training on Wednesday the 15th. Water wastewater, we're working on pool repairs in the deck area, and they finished up the sewer repairs on East Third Street.
Thanks, John. Are there any questions? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to accept the report.
So,
Second.
Motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please. Sorry, you can vote without him. I don't think you'll care on this one. Go ahead and register.
Voting very much, Lacy, back, Fritz, Pike, Schmidt, Hands, Kemper, absent.
We'll go on then to number 13. Are there any future requests for council agenda items or measure of action? Seeing none, we'll go on to number 14. Announcements of upcoming events. 2015 Arbor Day celebration is down at the Independence Landing at the Fairgrounds. This is Thursday, April 23rd, 2015 at 1 p.m. We have, of course, 4th of July celebration, again on the 4th of July. Charles, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, the marketing workshop that was scheduled at the Civic Center for later in this month has been rescheduled to May 7th because of a presenter conflict of time, so.
Okay.
May 7th, 6 p.m., Civic Center, West Fireplace Room.
All right. Unless there's any other updates, we'll go ahead and go back then to item number 11. This is the council to receive an update on pending and threatened legal proceedings. Kelly?
I would suggest that the council make a motion to go into closed session with myself and the mayor for the protection of public interest to discuss pending litigation or litigation which is imminent, as evidenced by communication of a claim or threat of litigation against the city of Seward for a period of 30 minutes.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting very Lacy, back, Kemper, Fritz, Pike, Schmidt, Hands, Motion.
Before we go, I need to restate, restatement of the subject matter. This is a motion for the city council to go into closed session with the city attorney and the mayor for the protection of the public interest and pursuant to Nebraska Revised Statute Section 84-1410 sub 1 to discuss pending litigation or litigation which is imminent as evidenced by communication of a claim of or threat of litigation against the city of Seward for a period of 30 minutes and to include, as mentioned, the city attorney and the mayor. All right.
They're hiring Heroes Job Fair tomorrow.
We'll need a motion to come out of closed session, correct, Kelly?
Yes.
Okay.
So moved.
And do I need to state, that no action was taken, and anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Alright, item then number oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, motion and a second. We have a
So
second?
moved.
Okay. There's a motion and a second, we're good?
We have a Pike and Fritz.
Okay, please register the votes, please display the votes.
Then okay, release the Fritz Pike, Schmidt, Hanson.
Alright, item 15,
I'll move to adjourn.
I would second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, register your votes, please display the votes.
Release the Fritz Pike, Schmidt, Hanson.
Alright, thank you everybody, have a good weekend. Happy Labor, happy